Hello, and welcome to Wallace's Mysteries of Antiquity. Subscribe to the channel to join me in exploring the enigmas of our distant ancestors and try to come to tentative conclusions about them. Before we start, I do want to remind my audience that when you comment, if you want to show me something, describe it in such a way that I can find it with basic searching instead of linking it. YouTube is flaky with allowing comments that have links and won't tell either you or me that it's been deleted, so I don't see it. Watch this video if you want more details. In my video, The Enigmatic Pyramid of Menkaure, I mentioned the graffiti of someone named Mahomet Rasoul. I have searched and not found any modern academic work regarding this obscure graffiti, so it has remained a bit of a mystery. Who was this? Howard Vyse found it, but doesn't record exactly where it was, just somewhere over the entranceway. So I assume it was either this lintel or on the curved ceiling above it. Vyse suggests other scribbles to be names of visitors, workers, or random phrases from the Quran. I believe that he thought this particular scribble was a name. He does say, quote, words, but he certainly capitalizes it as though it's a name, Mahomet Rasoul. This is what led me to make the assumption that it's a person's name. I was also able to find a modern person with this name. Here in A History of Art in Ancient Egypt, Mahomet Abdul Rasoul. So it certainly is a name, right? I've shown at least that it definitely can be a name. But if you're a Muslim, I recently learned that apparently you might say those words 5 times a day. Please excuse my cultural ignorance, and thank you very much to the commenter who pointed out that this phrase is present in the Shahada, or Declaration of Faith, and means Muhammad, Messenger of God, or Prophet. I've seen Rasul translated both ways. So we have to figure out, could it be a name? Or maybe there is some extra writing to confirm that it's actually the Islamic oath. All we have to do is ask an Arabic speaker to tell us if Mahomet Rasoul, written the way it is a name or part of a prayer. One question, binary choice. I should be able to answer the commenter definitively in about 10 minutes. 20 solid hours of research later. Why do all the rabbit holes look so small on the surface? I might have gone mad in there, but I think I'm getting better now. I had to catch and eat the rabbit for sustenance, but I think I figured it all out. Hopefully, if I show you what I found in there, maybe the voices in my head will stop trying to sell me aluminum siding I rent. Come on a journey down the rabbit hole with me. Okay, so I posted on Reddit. Just a quick question. Is this a name or a religious phrase based on the way it's written? Guess what they told me? Come on, guess what a bunch of Arabic speakers told me what the Arabic writing that Howard Vyse recorded said? Gibberish. I got a bunch of responses, but gibberish was probably the best summary. I was not ready for that. I thought I already knew what it said and was just asking for an interpretation of it. It wasn't even really on my radar to question if this was even Arabic. Okay, so my first thought was that I didn't explain the context. They needed to know that this was chalk marks on ancient stone that were fading in front of their very eyes because of the moisture from their breath. Some parts of it might be missing, and it could be an ancient form of Arabic. Likely also written by someone with no formal education. Some poor peasant who could probably literally only write their name and maybe a few religious phrases. I also added that the latest it could have been written was the 1200s, and possibly as far back as the first centuries. Still, they pushed back. European languages didn't really have any formal uniform style Until quite recently, I've seen plenty of English documents way younger than this that look completely incomprehensible to me. However, Arabic is the holy language of Islam. Because there is such a strong correlation between it and the Quran, which is written in it, there has been a quote-unquote correct way to write Arabic since Muhammad. Therefore, it never changed much. Ancient Arabic looks like modern Arabic for the most part. It's possible there have been some changes over the last 800 years, but there is nothing even resembling Arabic there, even old forms like Nabatean. I was completely shocked, to say the least. I thought I had it on very good authority that it was Arabic. Howard Vyse had 2 people who spoke Arabic tell him that's what it said. He sent for one, but was thrilled to have received 2, and that's what they translated it to. What on earth was going on? I kept digging. My next thought was maybe this could be some obscure dialect. I mean, look at all of these Arabic variants. Or maybe even a Creole with another language. For example, New Orleans Creole, despite originating from 2 languages that I speak, is gibberish to me. Could that be what's happening? Ottoman Turkish did get mixed in with Egyptian for a while, but that wouldn't happen for several hundred years after the pyramid was closed, but possibly a different language. But unfortunately, even that seems unlikely. Even though the spoken Turkish Arabic Creole would likely have been unintelligible to speakers of either, the writing was still the standard Arabic alphabet because of its link to Islam. All of these variants are written with the same letters. I am so uneducated in Arabic that I can't even tell where one letter begins and ends. But maybe that'll actually be an advantage to me. My brain won't automatically group anything together. I had to get in there and see it for myself. And I noticed some similarities. This zigzag and 3 lines next to it appear in both texts. Surely if I circle this, they'll see it. Maybe they're confused because only parts of a letter were transcribed. That got an interesting result. When I circled that, I had no idea what I circled. I just found a bunch of squiggles that looked familiar. Well, according to an Arabic speaker, what I circled does in fact say Muhammad. And even more specifically, Mahomet R. Not Rasoul, but we are getting somewhere. I'm going to have to identify every single line of the scribble to get a solid answer. Okay, one more pass. I'm going to identify what I think every single little line in Howard Vyse's transcription matches up to, and ask the Arabic speakers what the letters containing any part of it means. Then maybe we'll get to the bottom of all the confusion. So I did that, going brushstroke by brushstroke, and I believe I correctly interpreted most of the lines to the Arabic and color-coded them. And I found there are a bunch of extra lines. Maybe that's what's confusing everybody. Vyse recorded extra stuff that's either a separate writing or random scratches. It also appears to me like there are partial letters, and maybe the rest had already faded. Vyse was using a torch to see, I think. I'm making that assumption based on this pairing drawing on the adjacent page, as well as others that show the same thing. I linked volume 2 of Vyse's book below, and it's on page 82. Whatever he used, he lived before electric lights, so it must have been fire of some kind. I thought for sure I had something. It was there, just obscured, and I had found it. Let's show the experts. Still not Arabic. It was pointed out to me that the image I'd been working from is an extremely stylized version, and nobody would actually write it that way. This is actually how it appears on the flag of Saudi Arabia. I grabbed this from Wikipedia under the general label calligraphic representation of the Shahada, so I didn't realize this until told. But a very nice person was able to give me an explanation of exactly what each of the colors I'd highlighted meant, and some are unrelated letters that can't exist without other letters, some are just decorations, and the whole thing just has a bunch of other problems. But knowing that this section at least said Muhammad was promising, nobody would write it that way. But in theory, at least it could be interpreted that way if you look hard enough. So I went to handwritten versions of the Declaration of Faith. And now things start getting interesting because I really am starting to think that it's gibberish. The Arabs Vyse hired may have saw the same partial letters that I saw in the stylized Shahada and read it that way. But that's how an artist would do it, not someone scribbling with chalk. Vyse's wording, scrawled with something like chalk, implies this wasn't any particularly fancy lettering, so this isn't highly stylized. It's someone's basic writing with chalk, actually probably just a chip of limestone. Someone else was even nice enough to identify scribbles that they theorized might have been interpreted as Muhammad and compared by writing the name without picking up their pen. The shape is vaguely similar, but absolutely different in major ways that cannot be explained by fading, overlapping writing, or Vyse simplifying. There was a lot of people providing input on this video. Like I said, I can't understand Arabic. And particular thanks to fellow YouTuber Ascapo, who talks about lost languages and speaks Arabic. Go subscribe. I didn't even realize he was a YouTuber at the time, but he really helped me dive in and figure all of this out. This video is the epitome of hive mind science. I had the Egyptology and Howard Vyse context required to figure this all out, but had no idea what those scribbles could even mean theoretically. Ascapo patiently looked at each further piece of context that I would provide to possibly explain his latest analysis, and we went back and forth several times. After several long messages, he'd given me a clear understanding of where I was going wrong, and we've actually come to a consensus of what most likely happened. I proposed that the two men Vyse were sent from Cairo were specifically told they would be looking at ancient Arabic graffiti. So they had this preconceived bias that they would see partial Arabic. These were also likely Muslims, who had probably recited the quote that very day. Mahomet Rasoul would have been a phrase that was always rattling around the back of their mind. I think they read the characters that I colored. But like we said, that's not how anyone would actually write it. Ascapo agrees that this seems like the only explanation. So I think that's the answer. It's not the name Mahomet Rasoul, and it's not a section of the Shahada. It's nothing. Pure scribbles. It may have said something at some time. It may have even been Arabic. Maybe even said Muhammad. But there is absolutely no proof of that. There isn't even evidence for it. It's just nonsensical scribbles that you have to stretch to even get a hint of Arabic letters from. I think you've seen that I looked at every possible way for Vyse's interpretation to be right. You can read the Reddit conversation. We gave him every benefit of the doubt and looked at every angle. Almost all of this research happened in public, at least summaries of it, and you can follow how this conclusion was reached. Remember, I thought I was just going to ask if this was a name or not. This wasn't even a video. This was just going to be a response to an insightful comment. I took the word of two translators Vyse hired. But honest research will drag you into deep rabbit holes and make you question the very foundations of what you thought you knew. I pushed back to make sure nothing was overlooked, but I kept an open mind, and I'm now confident enough to make the bold claim that Howard Vyse was wrong. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'll say that tentatively, from what I've found and presented, that's my interpretation of it. If you're a particular person and wondering, yes, that's a nod to our recent correspondence. Searching to see if anyone noticed this before didn't turn up any results. Even Keith Hamilton didn't notice this despite mentioning the graffiti. By the way, I know I'm showing Google results. I did real searching too. If I missed it and you know of someone looking at this before, please comment below. I'll pin it and would love to see an actual academic's opinion on this. Remember, I can't even tell the letters apart. Though, also keep in mind that I draw with the pencil and pen, so I'm somewhat familiar with line work in general. I suspect an academic paper about this might exist, but is written in Arabic, and I wasn't able to find the right combination of search queries to find it. But at very least, I'm pretty confident that this information does not exist in the English-speaking world. I have reached out and am hoping to hear back from a Dr. Ahmed Al-Jalad at Ohio State. I emailed him this weekend, and usually wait a week or so for a response, but I sent it to a university address and it's summer. If I get any response at all, I wouldn't expect it till at least the fall semester, and I'll edit the description with his thoughts if he provides them, so look there if it's been long enough. So, unless an expert in early Arabic sees something an entire community of modern Arabic scholars don't, it just goes to reinforce that you should always have multiple independent sources for everything if possible, because even the great Howard Vyse got this one demonstrably wrong. If I'm incorrect, I have no issue retracting the conclusion. And if I ever do that, I always leave the video up for posterity to follow how the eventual conclusion was reached. It appears the two translators may have provided him some Arabic translations. He writes that he assumes most are names or phrases from the Quran, but also mentions that several of them are what he calls rude. He must have been told this by translators. Looks like things don't change. Stay classy, humanity. I want all my viewers to remember what just happened, though. A viewer thought they had an idea. That butterfly affected into solving a 200-year-old mystery regarding the legendary Howard Vyse. Well done, Martin Meejering. That's hive mind archaeology showing its power. And I'm also so sorry if I said anyone's name incorrectly in this video. I believe I mentioned in the video on the hole in the Queen's Chamber shaft that I call Simpson's window after ancient architects, that I believe there are people out there with a random critical piece of information hidden in their brain that solves ancient mysteries. I know not everyone is on board with my pothole theory, but that's okay. I'm not trying to build a cult following. I'm making a community of independent thinkers. Being able to reach over 1,000 people at once with a random idea is a powerful archaeological tool that has never existed before. And I think the hive mind is going to show itself to be an absurdly powerful tool. I make videos that reach more people in 24 hours than many professors will teach students over their entire career, and I'm a small channel. So post your ideas. That's always highly encouraged. And if you leave a long comment, I usually take a few days to respond to it because I'm giving it time to think. Even if your idea ends up being wrong, who cares? I've been wrong. That's how the leading edge goes. Just be ready to retract it. This initial commenter didn't have all the pieces and ended up getting the conclusion wrong. But again, so what? We literally all did. But the reasoning was flawless, and it did spark the research that got to the right answer eventually, in my opinion. I let y'all follow the whole process here, instead of just giving you the conclusion, because I thought it was a fun story, and to show that I really did pull on every thread. A video about the research process itself is coming soon, but I've also somehow got my head stuck in 2 other rabbit holes at the same time, and I'm not sure where those are going to lead either. Thank you for listening. Respectfully share your thoughts below. Did Vyse get it wrong, or did we miss something? And subscribe if you wish to continue to explore the enigmas of our distant ancestors together.